Careful consideration and reviewing the current eligibility guidelines, I am officially declaring myself a WNBA prospect. If simply declaring who you are is all that's required, then I meet every single requirement necessary to compete in the WNBA.
For the WNBA Draft in 2027 as well. I think I'd be unstoppable. But I'm a team first guy. I'm a pass first kind of player. I do the little things. I led my team in all 5 major stat categories at Iowa State University. So I do a little bit of everything. I'll do whatever the coach needs me to do. I'll do whatever the girls need me to do.
A story involving the WNBA is raising eyebrows across the sports world. 2 former NBA players, Enes Kanter and Royce are making headlines over their star plans to pursue the WNBA Draft. And before we get too far into this story, let's make one thing clear. Saying you want to enter a draft is not the same thing as being eligible for that draft. Getting selected or ultimately making a professional roster. But their announcements have opened up a much bigger conversation. What are the eligibility rules of the WNBA? Could a former NBA player enter the WNBA draft and they somehow become eligible? Would an NBA team actually want them? Those are questions now at the center of a debate involving basketball, league policy, gender eligibility, and professional sports. So let's break down what really happened. Hello, I'm your host, Kendrick Dix. Join in that conversation using the hashtag viral here on Connect. And don't forget to subscribe. Subscribe is caring. Tell a friend, call a friend. Hit that subscribe button so you won't miss a thing. First, let's talk about Enes Kanter. Kanter is a former NBA center who played professionally several teams during his career. He's a 6'10" and spent more than a decade in the NBA. Now he's saying he wants to pursue an opportunity in the WNBA. Take a look.
After careful consideration and reviewing the current eligibility guidelines, I am officially declaring myself a WNBA prospect. If simply declaring who you are is all that's required, then I meet every single requirement necessary to compete in the WNBA. My team and I have carefully examined the WNBA's eligibility criteria and governing framework surrounding self-identification and inclusion. Based on the current guidelines, I can and am officially declaring my eligibility for the upcoming WNBA Draft in May 2027. I am definitely not here to mock, make fun of, or disrespect any community or personal choices. I am simply asking that the current rules be applied equally to everyone. The rules that represent the very values many WNBA players and coaches have publicly advocated for. My team and I are prepared to ensure these guidelines are applied equally, consistently, and without exception. And I look forward to the WNBA honoring its stated principles. See you at training camp. Well, it's official. I just declared for the 2027 WNBA Draft in April. Join me in this journey.
Enes Kanter decided he's going to throw his hat into the WNBA.
The WNBA does not ban men who identify as women right now from playing in the league.
He would dominate the WNBA without batting an eyelash.
The #1 prospect in the history of the WNBA.
All right. Then there's Royce.
Earlier this week I made the announcement. I'm transgender. I'm a woman. I identify as sometimes identifying as a woman for purposes of basketball, professional basketball. So I'll be declaring for the WNBA Draft in 2027 as well. I think I'd be unstoppable. But I'm a team first guy. I'm a pass first kind of player. I do the little things. I led my team in all 5 major stat categories at Iowa State University. So I do a little bit of everything. I'll do whatever the coach needs me to do. I'll do whatever the girls need me to do. I think the WNBA could come out and make a definitive statement about guys with a pair of balls playing in the women's association. But hey, that'd be probably too much like right. So, and I don't want to be discriminated against. No, I want fair treatment. I'm a black. I'm a young black. Hopefully, United States Senator.
Indiana Fever guard Sophie Cunningham's comments about transgender athletes now sparking an unexpected challenge to the WNBA, with two former NBA players saying they want in. Enes Kanter and Senate candidate Royce White say they plan to declare for the 2027 Women's National Basketball Association draft, turning the debate over the league's eligibility rules into a very real test. Both men say the move is about one thing: applying the rules equally and seeing how the league will respond.
Earlier this morning, Royce White's Minnesota Senate primary opponent, former NFL sideline reporter Michelle Tafoya, joined National Report to weigh in.
Yeah, and my friend Enes Kanter is the first one to say it. And I think it's, you know, people can say this is a gimmick, it's a stunt, but what it does do is force the issue. The WNBA has a decision to make here. They're either a women's league, which is why the W is before the NBA, or they're not a women's league.
Here with us now is Royce White. Good to see you, sir, although I don't know if I should be calling you sir given the latest here. So, Royce, what are you hoping to get out of declaring for the WNBA draft?
I'm just having the time of my life. I'm living in my feminine era. I'm definitely going through a glow up.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah, I'm going through a huge glow up right now. And I can't believe all the hate I've received. That's probably the most shocking thing, is the hate that I've received in the first 72 to 100 or so hours of my trans existence, my public trans existence. The left is just vicious. Death threats. You should commit suicide. Your mother should be ashamed. It's absolutely eye-opening, the hate that trans people have lived with. It's just a shock that most of it comes from the American political left.
Well, Michelle Tafoya also went on to say, when she was talking to us, that you know, she used to cover the league in the early years, and it was about celebrating women in sports. Your thoughts on how far the NBA or WNBA has gotten away from that?
I feel like you're baiting me, but I'll go ahead and say it anyway. Michelle Tafoya needs to get her priorities straight about the sanctity of life and the unborn women in the womb. And once she gets those things clarified, then her and I can discuss my transgender future in the association.
All right. Well, speaking about your transgender future in the association, in all seriousness, I mean, what do you think it took to get the WNBA to this particular point? Because the league is saying this is a nuanced issue, but in reality, it seems very clear that it's not.
Well, yes, certainly not a clear-cut issue. And I think that I should get a chance to play. I think Enes should get a chance to play. I think all sometimes identifying as transgender black lesbians should get a chance to play. That's my official identity. I'm a sometimes identifying as a transgender black lesbian. And we should all have a fair shake per the rules. I mean, let's just follow the rules as they're stated. And I think we'll be able to elevate the game. And that's what's most important. I want to bring more focus to the superiority of the WNBA.
Well, you know, the leaders of the WNBA, they've come out, they're pretty hot under the collar about this whole thing. And they say that they don't want, it feels like it's politicizing it. But when they had coaches that were wearing, after Sophie Cunningham's comments, were wearing trans kids' rights T-shirts and trans this, you know, and that apparently in their minds wasn't politicizing it. What's your sense of where the league leadership is?
Well, I'm not your typical trans activist or transgender or trans-adjacent activist in this regard, although I am sometimes identifying as a black transgender lesbian. I do believe there's a time and place for trans, and it's not with our nation's children. And so I'm much different in my beliefs about trans rights and the politicized nature of the conversation than many of my other trans counterparts or feminist counterparts.
All right, Royce White, thank you very much.
Good luck in the draft. Okay.
Yeah, this is a wig, but it's my hair because I paid for it. It's a wig, but it's mine because I paid for it. Okay? And if you don't give me my props, if you don't tell me that I'm slaying tonight, if you don't say yes, queen, then you're transphobic. And you really need to take a look in the mirror and figure out why you have so much hate. Dance playing, and there aren't enough lifeboats for everybody. So I thought to myself, you know, if America's headed, you know, down the drain, why not experience what it's like to be a woman? I mean, why would I go my entire life in a man's body to be a woman trapped in a man's body? The torture, the anguish of it. I can't even describe it to you. You know, it's been a revelation. It's like, you can do this, dude. You can do this. You can become the best WNBA basketball player the world has ever seen. You can go to the WNBA and elevate the entire game. You can draw more eyes. You think Caitlin Clark's drawing eyeballs to the women's game? Wait till me and Enes Kanter get there. Wait until the LeBron Jameses of the world show up. Wait until your young high school athletes decide, you know what? Why would I want to go hang around with a bunch of other sweaty men in a hyper-competitive setting? Just go on over here to the WNBA and experience being a woman, because we all should get the opportunity to experience being the other sex, because it's just a construct anyway. Just a construct. There's nothing to it. There's no difference. But there's no real difference. Come on. There's no real difference between men and women. And we all know that. If you dig deep, if you search your heart, you know. I mean, let me look at you straight on here. If you search your heart, go home tonight, take some time, you look in the mirror, and you search. You search. Do some deep diving. We all know there's no real difference between men. We know that. We all know. It's a farce. It's a farce that's been perpetuated by all of these neo-colonial racists, these neo-colonial racist white men. It's a farce. All you need is a synthetic wig, and yeah, this is a wig, but it's my hair because I paid for it. It's a wig, but it's mine because I paid for it. Okay? And if you don't give me my props, if you don't tell me that I'm slaying tonight, if you don't say yes, queen, then you're transphobic. And you really need to take a look in the mirror and figure out why you have so much hate. In fact, as a black man, I never experienced as much hate as I've experienced in 100 or so hours of being transgender. I've been transgender for, about 5 days. I've never experienced so much hate. So much hate. Trans on trans hate. I got a bunch of transgenders in my inbox threatening to kill me.
The White was selected by the Houston Rockets in the first round of the 2012 NBA Draft after starting at Iowa State. However, White never appeared in the NBA regular season game. Both players are now bringing attention to the possibility of entering the WNBA Draft. But here's where things get complicated. A professional sports league does not work on a simple system where someone just can announce, I'm entering the draft, and automatically become a player. There are eligibility requirements. There are league rules. There are collective bargaining provisions. And ultimately, if someone is eligible for the draft, a team has to want that player. That's a critical distinction. Being eligible doesn't mean you're getting drafted. Getting drafted doesn't necessarily mean you're making the final roster. And making the roster doesn't guarantee you're going to be playing meaningful minutes. So the basketball question becomes very interesting. Could a former NBA player compete in the WNBA? Ooh. That's where the physical attributes, basketball ability, and age and conditioning current player level will all become factors. Kanter Freedom's size alone would generate enormous attention. Being professional basketball isn't simply about being tall. WNBA teams evaluate players based on skill, athleticism, conditioning, professional fit, basketball IQ, and whether they can contribute to a team system. And then there's the big issue surrounding this story, eligibility. The WNBA has its own rules governing who can participate in the league. So before entering, either player could actually step into the WNBA court. The league would have to determine whether the player satisfies the requirements. That's why it's a simple story about two former NBA players trying to make a comeback. And what is to become part of the national conversation about transgender athletes participating in women's sports. And as you can imagine, people have opinions. Supporters of the move argue that the professional sports could be based on athletic ability and that athletes should have an opportunity to compete if they satisfy the league's rules. Let's hear what you people had to say about Enes Kanter and Royce Wright trying to enter in the WNBA, and the rules and the eligibility and the requirements and the provisions of being in the WNBA from two former NBA players. See what you had to say on what people say.
After careful consideration and reviewing the current eligibility guidelines, I am officially declaring myself a WNBA prospect. If simply declaring who you are is all that's required, then I meet every single requirement necessary to compete in the WNBA.
So you see what Enes Kanter had to say, right? You see how much of a mess this is becoming, right? And everybody want to act like, oh my goodness, we don't want to hate on trans. We don't want to hate on trans folks. That's not what that's about. Anybody who's hating on them should be ashamed of themselves. The WNBA, the NBA, and everybody else in between is absolutely right when they talk about not violating people's civil rights and liberties, not being hateful, not engaging in hate in any way, shape, form, or fashion, whether verbally, physically, or otherwise. We all know that. But what Enes Kanter is pointing to is about competition. So for somebody to transition from male to female, and for folks to act like it would be okay for them to participate in the WNBA is ridiculous. And when you have athletes from the WNBA saying that they're looking out for and speaking up on behalf of girls, because it would clearly be an unfair advantage to a trans athlete over people born female, what's the problem? What's the problem? We got to have common sense. And yes, Enes Kanter is going a bit too far, but he's right to do so to make a point. And Royce White, former NBA player, now a conservative pundit, he's right too because he's trying to make a point. Certain things are beyond ridiculous, and you got to call it out just to send the message. Do you get it now? Are you sure you want to continue this subject? Are you sure you want to continue on this path? Sure you don't want to be political pawns? Fine. Then understand that the WNBA is for girls and people born female, and leave it at that. And stop acting like you don't know. Otherwise, there'll be a lot more Enes Kanters. And we all know y'all don't want that.
I saw a video of Enes Kanter saying that he's declaring himself as a WNBA prospect. So he posted this on his social media. He said, if simply declaring who you are is all that's required, then I meet every single requirement necessary to compete in the WNBA. And he basically says, based on the current guidelines, I can and am officially declaring my eligibility for the upcoming WNBA draft in April 2027. Like, I don't know whether to laugh. I don't know whether to cry, because like I've said in other videos, this league is the anything but basketball league. The storylines around this league are never about basketball. And I didn't realize what I was signing up for by covering this league to the extent that I have been covering it for the past 3 years. Like, I actually like sports. I don't want to talk about politics. I don't want to talk about drama and negativity. And it's literally, that's the thing that's in your face.
Basically, what we're seeing with Enes Kanter Freedom and Royce White declaring for the WNBA draft is what I call the old Uno reverse card. Got to let them in now. Somebody better draft them. That would be kind of considered discrimination if you didn't. WNBA says we don't mind. Most of the players say we don't mind if we have a trans athlete in sports. Well, Royce White says that he's a trans woman. Better let him in. And then you can get a live shot of me over outside of FanDuel and DraftKings waiting for the fucking betting lines on the over to come out. Because I'm going to put my fucking house right on the over. I can't wait to watch this Joanna Man special. All it is virtue signaling. Sophie Cunningham came out, put her stance out there, and all the liberal places. No, we have no problem. So, draft them up. All right, let's lace up those Nikes. Let's get out there. Let's do some dunking, huh? And if you don't, I don't know, man. Better be careful. Well, they don't have to draft. I don't know. You're doing a lot of talking. You're going to discriminate? Can't do that. It's like they're coming.
Earlier this week, I made the announcement. I'm transgender. I'm a woman. I identify as sometimes identifying as a woman for purposes of basketball, professional basketball. So I'll be declaring for the WNBA draft in 2027 as well. I mean, I think I'd be unstoppable, but I'm a team first guy. I'm a pass first kind of player. I do the little things. You know, I led my team in all 5 major stat categories at Iowa State University. So I do a little bit of everything. I'll do whatever the coach needs me to do. I'll do whatever the girls need me to do. I think the WNBA could come out and make a definitive statement about guys with a pair of balls playing in the women's association. But you know, hey, that'd be probably too much like right. So, and I don't want to be discriminated against. No, I want fair treatment. I'm a black, I'm a young black, hopefully United States senator that would like a fair chance to participate.
I love how inclusive we're being, right? If Royce White and Kanter say that they're women, I believe them, and I'm with them, and I pray that their journey is one that leads them to the profession that they deserve. Now, to the women who have pushed men into their league, what are y'all going to do now? Skedaddle.
Ooh, guys, did you hear? The new grift just dropped. I identify as sometimes identifying as a woman for purposes of basketball, professional basketball. So I'll be declaring for the WNBA Draft in 2027.
Another one.
I am officially declaring myself a WNBA prospect.
It's got to be so frustrating when you come up with a new grift and then somebody else comes up with the exact same grift when you came up with it. 2 ex-NBA players, neither of whom made any sort of major impact on the league, both come up with, I'm going to be in the WNBA because now I'm declaring myself transgender. Man, it would have been such a better grift if only one of you had been grifting. You can declare for whatever you want to, but that doesn't mean they have to draft you. Because it's the Women's National Basketball Association, not the Women's National Grift Association. And look, if you guys are battling it out for who's the most transphobic ex-NBA player, we'll just declare it a tie. And just a word of advice, never double fist the grift.
It finally happened.
After all these years, we finally have an NBA player taking their talents to the WNBA. Yes, Enes Kanter, former NBA center, has officially declared for the Women's National Basketball Association.
After careful consideration and reviewing the current eligibility guidelines, I am officially declaring myself a WNBA prospect. Based on the current guidelines, I can and am officially declaring my eligibility for the upcoming WNBA Draft in May 2027.
Do you understand that whoever gets the first pick is going undefeated?
Bro's going to average 90 in the name of equality.
There won't be a record left standing. The scoring record, the winning margin, and Rookie of the Year, right now it's Olivia Miles with a 96% chance on call sheet. But once Enes gets drafted,
it's over.
And keep in mind, he still holds the franchise record for the Trailblazers with 30 rebounds in a single game, and he stands almost 7 feet tall. Whether you like it or hate it, this is going to do numbers for WNBA viewership. And for those sports bettors out there, this is going to feed generations.
Enes Kanter, a former NBA player, and wildly enough considering the story, someone who was nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize, announced on the artist formerly known as Twitter that he will be declaring himself eligible for the WNBA Draft, citing the fact that him and his team looked at the eligibility requirements and a simple declaration was all that would be required for him to qualify for said draft. Now, to be clear, Enes Kanter does not believe himself to be a woman. Enes Kanter is not trans. Enes Kanter is an asshole who is using a major story, a culture war story, in order to cling to relevance. He is doing the work of right-wing nut jobs who are rallying around this non-issue in order to prop himself up, to make himself relevant. And in essence, also undermining the very integrity of all conversations around trans athletes and undermining the integrity of women's sports in the process. Because to be clear, as much as I hear conservatives say we're trying to keep boys out of women's sports, they are not having an honest conversation about who trans people are and what is required of trans athletes to actually participate in sports. They always deduce it down to someone just simply deciding one day that they are a woman, which is not how trans identity works in any way, shape, or form. And yet, here is Enes Kanter living out the fantasy that they believed. And they are cheering him on because they believe that it is owning the libs and owning the W. But once again, Enes Kanter is not trans. Enes Kanter is not a woman. Enes Kanter is an asshole. And I will always come back to the reality that this is a non-issue. There is not a prevalence of trans athletes. According to state-level data, there were probably about 100 trans athletes participating in high school sports out of the 8 million athletes. According to the NCAA president back in 2024, before trans athletes were banned, there were less than 10, which factors out to about 0.001% of all athletes were trans. This is a non-issue that is being stoked by the right wing in order to try to win an election when their record says that the economy is bad, we're in an endless war, everything is worse. But at least they can scare you into believing that someone is coming for your children. This is nothing more than a publicity stunt by an asshole who is attempting to seek relevance on the backs of a community that has actually been impacted by this current administration and the discourse therein. And I hope that the W just completely ignores him and doesn't give him the attention he so desperately is seeking. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
We now have 2 former NBA players who have come out and said they're going to play in the WNBA next season. And the commissioner of the league now has had to come in and say something about it. Earlier on Friday, it was Enes Kanter who announced that he was going to declare for the next WNBA draft. And just hours later, Royce White told me he was going to follow suit. White never even scored a single point in the NBA. He was mostly known for not being able to fly on a plane. But now he's saying that he would be unstoppable in the W.
Well, I mean, I think I'd be unstoppable. No, I think it's only fair. I think it's only fair. I see other great minds, other great athlete, political minds like Enes Kanter. Great minds think alike, and it's only fair that some of us get a shot to play in the Women's Association. I think I'd be a great fit.
If you look on social media, you'll see tons of Save Women's Sports activists celebrating these decisions by Freedom and White. But why? Why would Save Women's Sports activists celebrate men coming to play in women's sports? It's exactly the thing they're trying to prevent. Well, the reason is the point that White and Freedom are trying to make. They're pointing right at the WNBA rulebook at a rule that doesn't exactly clarify who's allowed to play and who isn't. Currently, the rules only say that women can play, but it doesn't exactly define what a woman is. And as we've seen from the woke age, anyone can say they're a woman, even when they're not. Will they find a solution? Who knows? It's the WNBA.
Enes Kanter, aka Enes Freedom, because he's on his he's became the Tom McDonald of basketball. I don't know how else to describe him. He's trying to join the WNBA because he's mad at trans people or something. That's literally what I'm getting from this. I had a video announcement where he says this orange WNBA jersey on, and he scratched out the Nike logo because I guess he hates them. He's trying to prove a point, that's gonna make the Nike stocks go down. During this announcement, this man's like, I'm not trying to mock anybody, I'm not trying to make fun of anything, I'm just saying, if according to the WNBA's rules, I'm allowed to play, so who's gonna draft me? Fuck nobody? I don't know what his goal possibly could have been other than stirring trouble on Twitter. He knows damn well he has no chance of any team being let's grab him. That we want him on our team. I've seen people being hate him or love him, whether you like it or not, he would be the best player in the WNBA. I can't lie to you. I'm not confident that I believe that. We had that argument of Brittany Griner versus DeMarcus Cousins. It's yeah, Boogie all day, every day. What are we talking about? But Enes Freedom versus Brittany Griner, I'll take Brittany Griner just because of how annoying Enes Freedom is. Mind you, this man's afraid of the possibility of one trans athlete entering the WNBA when in the NCAA there isn't even 10 trans athletes. He's worried about something that's not even a problem.
People are very upset after another NBA player identifies as a woman and is now declaring for the WNBA draft.
I'm transgender. I identify as sometimes identifying as a woman, declaring for the WNBA draft.
So yes, this is very true. We had Enes Freedom make the announcement yesterday, and we now have another former NBA player, Royce White, doing the same thing for the 2027 WNBA draft. Now, like I mentioned, a lot of people are very upset about this, so Royce White responded to this saying, I haven't even been publicly trans for 72 hours and I'm already getting so much hate. I just want to hoop with my girls in my feminine era. Why can't y'all be happy for me? Now, because of this, the WNBA announced that they are meeting to review what a woman is after recent events.
You people didn't know that critics see something very different. They argued that the women professional basketball exists to provide women athletes with competitive basketball environment, professional environment. And that's the question. Well, they allow NBA players into the league that will undermine that purpose or aren't focusing on gender debate. They're asking a simple question. Would a WNBA team actually draft a player, either player. Because remember, teams are obligated to draft someone just because the person declares. And that's where the basketball business come into play. The WNBA roster are limited. Every spot matters. Teams are looking for players who can help them win. So even if the eligibility question were resolved, the next question would be, can you actually play at a WNBA level? That's something that ultimately will have to be answered on the basketball court. So where does this leave us? Right now, the biggest takeaway is this. An announcement isn't a roster spot. Enes Kanter, and Royce White can express their desire to pursue the WNBA draft, but there are still questions surrounding eligibility, league rules, the draft procession, and whether a team will actually select them. And that's what makes this story so fascinating. It sits right on the intersection of professional basketball, sports policy, and one of the biggest debates in sports today. The WNBA has grown tremendously, and the stories like this one are guaranteed to generate conversation. Ultimately, the league would potentially its teams will have the final say who is eligible to compete and who gets a chance to compete. So now we want to hear from you. Should former NBA players be allowed to pursue the WNBA if they meet the league requirements of eligibility? Or should the WNBA remain exclusively focused on women's basketball? Let us know what you think. I'm Kendrick Dix, and this is Viral on Connect TV.